Well, as we mentioned, sales of existing homes nearly evaporated last month. So what's behind this fall off? Richard Nassimi is the CEO of the Nassimi Group, a marketer of high-end real estate in New York. Richard, welcome to Rise Exchange.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
I was looking at your website earlier. I'd certainly like one of those apartments. Maybe we'll go shopping a little bit later. This was a little bit of a surprise here. What do you think drove down these sales?
Well, I honestly think that's not a breaking news after all, because we were expecting keep going up, prices surging up to a certain level where we feel uncomfortable. So this data that came out didn't hit Wall Street all surprised.
Is this a pause or is this a correction?
I think it's more a correction than a pause.
You do? So
Yes.
you think real estate prices across the board are going to drop 10 to 15% in that range?
Not in other metropolis.
Okay.
You know, the main one like San Francisco, Chicago, Dallas, Texas is having a huge upside right now. They're up like 10, 20% right now. But in general, the general real estate around America, it's suffering. We have a lot of properties out there, not a lot of buyers. Don't forget that some areas are not that strong. We are used to New York City. New York City, I would call it a different kind of beast.
Sure, certainly. You know, we got word that the investors have left the market, the people buying up sort of the distressed properties. Is that, you know, part of the reason we're seeing sort of a slowdown here? And isn't that a good thing? Get the retail market back into the market?
Well, investor, don't get it wrong, investors are out there. They're still looking for deals out there. In certain areas of America, there are some good deals that we can still buy. Detroit right now, for example, to a very good example, it's out for sale at a very low price.
Yeah, there's a fire sale going on in Detroit, but it's location, location, location. Until there's a reason to be in Detroit, you're not going to see some real estate.
It's a long investment, Detroit. I would say 10 to 20-year plan. But in areas like Florida, Texas, California, where the weather is helping a lot of the retails, we're still having that percentage up.
I want to ask you about the weather and the impact in a moment, but we saw an inching up of mortgage rates. But they're still historically low. So how much of an impact has the rise in mortgage rates, you think, pulled off of the market?
It's all about the mortgages.
It's all about mortgages?
Yes.
So what does that say about the whole sustainability of the housing market, that you still have low interest rates historically, but we can't even support that?
Well, don't forget that banks have been very tough on lending right now. So it wasn't that easy. Everybody can knock on the door and say, give me a loan. So they're loosening a little bit up right now. And mortgages are still at a low level, historical low level. People are refinancing. People are actually going out and buying. And don't forget about Freddie and Fannie Mac, new product.
Yep.
$500,000, 3% down. I mean, that's kind of like a little bit...
Back to the jumbo loans.
Correct. Washington Mutual again. So that's going to be a little bit tricky right there, okay? So right now you're basically with the $500,000 mortgage. You're telling people with 3% down, you can buy a home. With all due respect.
You don't support that.
I respect everyone. Everyone should have their home. That's the American dream, but not like this.
But not everybody can afford a home.
No, exactly.
That's what got us into the problem in the first place.
3%, you're telling people you don't change your income. We're just allowing you to borrow money.
To have less income.
Yeah,
and borrow money. And then they get into problems when the market starts to weaken.
It's a short term.
What about the weather a little bit? We've had this horrible weather throughout the entire, not just the East Coast, but through the middle of the country. I got to think that causes a suppression to the housing market. Who's going out and looking at homes?
Of course. I mean, people cannot get out. I mean, even if you have open houses, people cannot get out in this kind of cold weather. You know, I don't want to justify the weather only on the home sales, but I have to tell you something. The weather has a huge impact because down in Florida, in those areas where the weather is better, the home sales are pretty much okay. In the Northwest and Northeast, it's very hard to go out there, especially retail. Don't forget last year, in a number that gave you, the sales in retails were 20%, 28% down, January and February.
What is the strongest housing market right now if you are a seller?
San Francisco.
Why?
Because we have all the Chinese from San Francisco coming and buy there.
Okay. You see that in South Florida a little bit too, don't you? See Latin America and the Chinese.
South America is scooping up Florida, and they slowed down a little bit. And there was the European that now they're backing off. Actually, they're selling because of the euro.
And the weakest market if you are a buyer?
The weakest, Detroit.
Detroit. Okay, outside of Detroit, I mean, you still see Chicago holding up pretty well?
Chicago is holding up pretty well, yes. It's a very strong market.
How do you think we're going to look at when you start looking at where there's big fracking going on in North Dakota or Pennsylvania that has driven these markets way up, but now we're getting a little bit of the other side of the boom, the bust side to fracking. You think we're going to start seeing that in the numbers soon?
Very soon. I'd say anywhere between 6 to 12 months. Everything's going to slow down a little bit. You know, everything gonna get, the seisma gonna relax, and the real price and the real buyers gonna come out.
Okay, if you're looking for a house, you wait a little while longer, you think?
Definitely.
Okay. Richard Nassimi, thank you so much, the CEO of Nassimi Group. I appreciate your time here.
Thank you very much.
Come back soon. Coming up, it's Greek to us, why Greece is trying to buck austerity, and do they have a point? You're watching Rise Exchange. Stay with us.